I'm excited about this new method of making 3D models. You can take a rough sketch, and through this method you can get to a 3D printable model that you can go do whatever with, whether it be making scenes for rendering or just props and what else. So the method I use for sketching, I try to follow the method that Doug Chiang, Star Wars designer, uses, where he starts with like a rough marker layout, so just with like a light cool gray, and then goes and adds pen details and then adds more shading until he gets a loose picture of what he's looking for. The interesting thing about this method is if you can make something that's just visually convincing, then the program we use will be able to pick up on that and convert it into a 3D model. So the first step is to install this program called Stable Projectors. So this is the website for installing Stable Projectors. The purpose of this software is to take a 3D model and then texture it using AI, but it's got some other features that we're going to use today. Those features are very useful, by the way. I recommend them. I'm not going to go into detail about how to use the program. They've got tutorials. Other people can do that, but I'll link the software into the description. What you need to know, so when you open it up, you've got this viewport. This is the kind of the texturing workspace, but you can go from stable diffusion to 3D, and then it says there's no 3D generators connected yet, so you just click catalog and there'll be some 3D generators. I think the Hanyan 3D is better from my experience, so yeah, I'd recommend installing that, following the steps. They have it all laid out here. It's really easy. So now it's saying you have to go open this bat file. So let's go here. Here, it says recommended right there. Just double click on that. So it'll start up. It'll take a minute or two. The crazy thing is this thing can make 3D models from a picture in like a minute, 2 minutes. Runs on your own GPU. So once it starts up, you'll be able to drag your picture into the left corner and hit generate. It'll take just a couple minutes, and then you'll have a 3D model to look at. So in this case, this is before I cut the drawing out, and I generated it, and the results were not ideal. It was kind of confused between what was the background and what was part of the character, because there wasn't a big color difference between the page and some parts of the sketch. So I actually found cutting out the picture and just putting it on my suitcase so it had a dark background suddenly was able to be much more successful in generating. So you can see in this case it resulted in having 3 legs. Now, one way to overcome this is an issue with perspective, is drawing your object from multiple views, or taking your 1/3 view of your object, if it's symmetrical, and mirroring it. So there's a feature built in to do this. You just go to the multiple images tab. You can flip your images. You can upload multiple views. And sometimes this produces better results. In this case, though, I actually found, even though the using 2 views improved some of the details on the head, I preferred the initial result. So that's what we're going to bring into Blender. So when you import the mesh into Blender, just be sure to join all the points. So tab into edit mode, open the mesh, and Control J to join all the points together. Otherwise, all the faces will be separate. Once you do that, it'll be a solid part, and you can go and do a bunch of Boolean operations. So in this case, what I've done is I replaced, almost all the geometry in the end, because I was going for like a more squared faces robot look. This was still useful though, because I could bring in primitives and lay them out in a way that really matched my sketch and matched the intent of my sketch. Whereas I think just starting from scratch wouldn't have been as effective. So yeah, I think it's still worth it. And especially with anything that's going to be in the background of a 3D scene, or anything that's going to be like, you know, more organic shapes as well. So this, you can adjust the resolution in the settings when you're generating the object. And the newer version of the object generator is much better. This version is lower res. That update happened since I made this guy. And so you can get pretty decent models out of it. In an upcoming video, I'm going to talk more about organic 3D models you can make with this technique. So this was started from a picture of a woolly ostrich that happened in the animated film me and Darian were working on. And woolly ostriches, I know, pretty awesome. It started out without this much detail, and I have a technique using displacement modifiers to take it from a model like this, which is 3D generated. And you know, it's interesting how it generates them. It's like it looks at the image and thinks, oh, okay, what are the blobs that would make up this image? And it just makes these blobs in the rough shape of whatever your picture you fed it was. But anyways, I have trained my own model that looks at an image and guesses an ambient occlusion map for it. And using that, and using the program's stable projectors, I was able to add displacement. So this had image textures as well. It had like feathers and stuff, but it was just an image texture. To add all this detail of depth, I used this ambient occlusion method, and I'm going to talk more about that in another video.